Dear Beauty Podcast. I'm Jennifer.
I'm Alexis.
I need to pick one. I either say I'm Jen or I'm Jennifer. I'm sorry, you guys. I have identity crisis.
Let's go with Jen.
Yeah, I'm usually Jen. For some reason, when I'm meeting new people or I'm in a professional setting, I say Jennifer. It's really weird. I'm
Okay.
Jen.
I like Jen's your buddy.
Jen's chill, you know?
Jennifer's that like bitchy cheerleader.
Yeah. Anyways.
And you're not coordinated enough.
Dude, I thought I could dance, but I can't, and that was proven when I tried to do TikTok choreography with my little sister. I just could not get it down, and I was so embarrassed.
Those dances are hard. And mostly because they're just like strange movements, not like actual dances.
But like, I have no rhythm.
Oh.
Like, I guess I could twerk, but that's the only thing I'm capable of.
Let me see.
Probably don't even twerk well.
I thought you had to have like a big butt to twerk well.
You just need
Is that
something
like
there.
Something?
Anyways, how's your week going?
I mean, like, this heat wave is just draining me emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And I'm living in fear of my AC blowing out. So my AC blew out a couple nights ago. It was like 90 degrees in my bedroom.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, it's fucking hot. The AC isn't working. Greg's like, no, it's working. It's on.
Yeah.
There's air. And I was like, go stand under the vent. And you stand under the vent and tell me if there's air coming out of there. And he's like, no, there's air. So after we argued about it, he finally conceded that, oh, yeah, no, that's not cold air. So it turns out, like, the fan or the motor, I don't know, something died. So because I live next door to my father and my grandfather, at, like, 10 p.m., my dad, my grandpa, and my husband are all standing there around the AC unit, like, let's try this and see if this works.
Yeah.
So they, like, at 10 p.m., replaced the entire AC unit because we just happened to have the parts laying around, apparently.
What a
and then
dream.
I had a lovely evening of sleep after that in the crisp, chilly air conditioning.
Last night, it was so hot that, you know when you just sweat everywhere, and by everywhere, like everywhere, I like
Yes.
woke up and could not go back to sleep because it was so uncomfortable, and I ended up having to turn the AC on.
When that happens, like, night sweats are a symptom of, or like a side effect of some antidepressants. So I've dealt with that off and on for a couple years now. And like when that happens, like I just have to get out of bed and like either shower or completely change my clothes, change the bed sheets, or like lay on top of them if I'm too tired. Yeah. And it's the worst. Ugh. Like there's like,
have you thought about like cooling sheets?
No.
But then you'll be too cold.
Yeah.
The fucking strugs.
The strugs.
Yeah, so
speaking of sweating everywhere, is that a good segue?
That's a good segue to talk about vagina.
Coochies.
Every we all got it. Well, not all of us.
Not
Some
all
of us
us
act like it.
Statistically, about half of the humans in the world have one.
Yeah.
Because not all women have vaginas.
Yes.
Not all men have penises. So we can't say like all women have them because it's not totally true.
Yeah, but like for the amount of people on this planet that have vaginas are something that people still don't really talk about, and like
which
a
is
lot of
crazy because like fucking
it's
Cave
like taboo.
Of Wonders. Oh, okay.
Well, like it's taboo to talk about it. I mean, I didn't have the birds and bees talk with my mom, which meant that we didn't talk about my vagina and what the heck is it, and like a lot of this stuff, like we kind of learn along the way, sometimes through illnesses. Or no, let me take that back.
Physically costly illnesses.
Physically costly. There we go. And I wish
But
that, like,
some medically as well.
yeah. Yeah, because you're out here, like, comparing, like, yourself to, like, other vaginas, and then you think something's wrong with yours. But we're going to talk about that today. Today's episode is all about healthy vaginas.
Vaginas.
Yeah. So what was, like, is this TMI, but, like, what was your first experience, like,
With a
knowing that you
vagina?
had a vagina?
Knowing that I had one? I don't know if I can go, like, that far back in my psyche.
I always thought that the vagina was the butthole.
Oh, baby.
And so I couldn't understand why when I was younger. How did people have sex? And also, where did babies come from?
Okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't an issue that I had. I think the first time that I can remember being, like, aware of it, I guess, I don't know, maybe I just didn't think about vaginas as a lot as a child, but, like, my freshman year of high school.
Yeah, I want to
is
say, like,
when-
in high school was when I discovered what it really was. And I don't mean that in
Really?
a sexual way, like losing my virginity or anything, but, like, just more people talking about it.
I mean, I'd been aware of it prior to that, but I think freshman year of high school was, like,
Yeah.
kind
Like,
of
keep
when
in
I was...
mind, I was prevented from going to sex ed class to learn about my vagina. So thanks, Mom.
I was too, but for a very different reason. I just wasn't allowed to go because I was, like, in the middle of rehearsal for a musical,
Oh.
and I was like, can I go to the sex talk? And they were like, no, we're rehearsing. So all my friends got to go to the sex talk, and I didn't get to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably why I am the way that I am.
Yeah, why do they call it the birds and bees, by the way? I never understood that.
I don't know. I think it's because bees have pointy things at the end of
That's
them.
stupid.
Or bees pollinate.
Okay. Then
Yeah.
what the fuck do birds do?
Also pollinate. They pick up the seeds and they take the seeds places.
Don't mind me, I'm Googling this right now.
But my
The
school...
phrase the birds and bees is a metaphor for explaining the mechanics of reproduction to younger children, relying on imagery of bees pollinating, you're
Yes.
right, and eggs hatching to
Oh, okay.
substitute for a more technical explanation of sexual intercourse.
I
You guys
see.
are welcome. I bet you didn't know that either.
Yeah. Probably not. But my school had, like, multiple sex talks. So, like, 8th grade was, like, the sex talk. But 5th grade, we had the Your Changing Body talk. And then 7th grade was the miracle of life. Watch a lady give birth.
So if you guys have some interesting vagina stories to tell us, go ahead and email us at dearbeautypodcast@gmail.com so we can share it next time. We want to hear about your crazy story.
What's your crazy vagina story?
So we'll get into this a little bit later, but, like, you know how you're supposed to pee after sex, otherwise you might get an infection?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I learned that the hard way, and I
Oh.
wish they, like, fucking tell you this shit before you have sex. Unless I missed that whole
Right?
part.
Honestly,
Like,
I
it's
wish
shit
there
like
was...
that people need to know.
Yeah, I wish there was, like, a manual, you know? Like,
New
hey,
business
tips and
opportunity.
tricks.
It's probably called the Kama Sutra. Do you remember when that was, like, a trend? The
No.
Kama Sutra books? It was, like, 100 positions
Kama
for sex.
Sutra.
Kama
Kama Sutra.
Sutra. Okay. Anyways, so
Have you seen those positions, though? Like, good fucking luck.
dude, some of them, like, I'm sorry, I'll never be able to do. I'm just not
No.
flexible enough,
No.
nor do I have the furniture
That's
to.
so much work, and it can't be enjoyable.
Like,
Like, upside down, you gotta, like, hold your full body weight up. Like, no.
like, how do
that's
you
just...
even, like, because the penis doesn't even go upside down. Right?
You can't twist it. Yeah, it's not like one of those, like, little rotating appendages.
Can you guys tell how mature we are?
Okay, but this just goes to prove our point that we don't talk about vaginas enough because
Yeah.
we're all like, like grown-ass women, like, hee, vagina. Like, this just proves our point
Yeah.
that we're part of the problem.
Okay, so you guys, so I'm here today. I want to talk to you guys about what healthy vaginas are supposed to look, smell, and feel like. So, if you guys didn't already know, all vaginas are different. From the way that they look to the way that they smell, no two vaginas are the same.
Like a snowflake.
Wow.
A vaginal snowflake.
Your vaginas are fucking snowflakes. So, anyways, let's start first with how they smell, right? So, it's normal to smell. And what your vagina smells like depends on your unique body's chemistry. And then there's like a bunch of other factors that go. Every vagina has its own scent. And that's a combination of the normal bacteria that's inside your vagina and what your diet is, what you wear. So, like, what kind of fabric are you wearing? Your level of hygiene, your bathroom habits, and also when your glands, what your glands secrete. So your vagina also secretes pheromones. If you guys didn't know what that is, it's basically like this scent that your body gives off. You might not be able to smell it yourself, but these pheromones is what attracts others, and also triggers like your sexual interest or excitement. So it's like this invisible smell.
It's like, the way I understand it is like, like your person smells so good to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just get in there and get up in that armpit, like
men body odor.
There's good man body odor and there's bad man body odor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like some good man body odor, like, I'll take it.
So I can't tell you what your vagina is supposed to smell like, but from the research, I can tell you what it shouldn't smell like. So if your vagina smells like anything rotting, so for instance, rotting fish, it might be because you have an infection, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But anytime you're having an infection, it's usually because there's an imbalance of good and bad bacteria. So there's a couple reasons why your vagina might smell. So apparently this is really common, but if you have left a tampon in there and it'll cause your vagina to smell. Like sometimes we might forget that we have one, so we'll insert a new one and forget to take the other one out. So it's really important that you guys, if you're using tampons, to make sure you take that shit out before you put a new one in.
I have a story.
Tell me.
One of my friends in high school was sleepwalking. And in her sleepwalking state, she got up and put 4 super tampons in.
What the heck?
And she woke up in the morning, she was like, what the fuck?
That's some crazy shit, dude.
I know, and then she had to like fish them all out.
Imagine like
that's the whole
poking
story.
Around your vagina and like figuring out how many you stuck in there when you sleepwalking last night.
How did you even do that?
Like my biggest fear with using tampons is like I always get paranoid that I forgot and I left it in there, and then what if I get TSS from it? So I recently switched to the Menstrual Cup, and did you know that you can also get TSS from Menstrual Cup?
So TSS is way less common than we think it is.
Yes,
they have to do the warning because like it happened a few times in like the 70s or something. Somebody left a tampon in for like 24 hours and they got TSS, but it is like super duper rare.
Yeah.
Super rare. So it's not something to like really be concerned about.
So I think I will forever have this paranoia because when I was younger, I accidentally watched an episode of Nip Tuck, and I was far too young to be watching that kind of show. So in the episode, like his kid got submitted to the hospital and went to the ER because homegirl like thought to mature, she had to stick a tampon up her vagina, and then she got
she thought it was like losing her virginity or something.
Yeah. So anyways, another reason that your vagina could smell is, like I mentioned earlier, a bacterial infection. So the most common one is called bacterial vaginosis, or also known as BV. And this is really common for women between the ages of 15 to 44. And this happens like when your pH balance is thrown off.
Do you know what the pH of a healthy vagina is supposed to be?
Between 3.8 to 4.5. So anything above or below that is your pH is thrown off. And I'll also
got a little bit of an acidic cooch.
Yeah, and so like during your period, for instance, or like even after having sex, that's when your pH levels can change. So it's fine for it to like go around 4.5, but that's like the range you want to be in. And there's tests you can do to like test the pH of it. Also, your vagina can smell if you ate something funky.
Okay.
So like fragrant foods like garlic can contribute to like a funky smelling vagina. Also,
Okay.
I was like, okay, looking up pineapple. So you know how there's this whole thing where you eat pineapple?
It's an urban legend.
It's an urban legend, y'all. But
Did you think that was real?
no, so I was thinking more of like your diet affects the way that your vagina smells.
Yes.
So like eating like healthier types of sugars, drinking more
Yes.
water, etc., will have you have a healthier smelling vagina. So if you're eating like fried foods all the time, you have an unhealthy lifestyle, then that can affect this pretty smell of your
The
vagina.
fragrance.
The fragrance.
The bouquet.
The bouquet. So like if you're noticing that like after you eat like something funky like garlic noodles or what the fuck, and your vagina smells, it could be due to that. So maybe not freak
Okay.
out yet. Sex without condoms, that again throws your pH balance around. Make sure, ladies, if you didn't already know, it's really important to pee after every sexual intercourse, or like anything that has to do with your vagina. So like fingering, or I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, so that you can, because your vagina is like it naturally cleans itself. So it's self-cleaning, so make sure that you help with the process by peeing after sexual intercourse. Also, make sure your partner has clean fingernails, because that will cause infections. Also, rips or tears in your vagina.
Another story time.
Tell me.
Another girl that I went to high school with, this is why children shouldn't have sex and do sex things, because they do this to each other. So, homegirl's boyfriend had long-ass, dirty-ass fingernails, and he went and stuck them up inside her.
Gross.
And scratched the inside of her, like, vaginal wall.
Oh my God.
And she got an infection. And her mom had to take her to the ER.
Oh my God.
Because
that's awful.
she got a coochie scratch, and then she was like,
Imagine the talk after that.
I'm not allowed to, like, have sex for 6 weeks. I was like, dude, that sucks.
Yeah, and gentlemen, I'm sorry, not gentlemen, anyone who is listening to this.
People who are having sex with a vagina-owning person.
Yes. Make sure that you either cut your nails, wash your hands before, keep those nails clean and pristine for the health of the vagina, please.
There are jokes. No, there's always, like, people are always joking about how, like, lesbians have short fingernails, but, like, they do that because they understand what the risks are, and they are respectful of the women that they are having sexual encounters with. If you love your vagina-owning person that you're having sex with, you will cut your damn nails. You will scrape up under them. You will get all soapy. You'll be sterile hands in vaginas.
Also, in amongst this unprecedented times, y'all better be knowing how to wash your hands. Okay, so let me tell you the story. That has nothing to do with vaginas, but it has to do with cleaning hands. So I was at the airport the other day, and I got out of the restroom, and I'm like, every time I'm at the airport, I wash my hands before I get on the plane, right after I get on the plane, and like any time in between, I'm like hand sanitizing, right? So I go out, and I'm like, washing and scrubbing my hands like I'm a fucking surgeon and shit. And this bitch comes out, and she's washing her hands just really quickly. And in my mind, I'm like side-eyeing her so hard, like, first of all, she's coming out of the bathroom and she's not washing her hands so properly. Also, we're in a fucking pandemic and you're not washing your hands properly. And I was like hardcore freaking out, because I'm thinking like there are still people out there that don't know how to wash their hands. So anyways, as I'm side-eyeing her so hard, right? She comes back to wash her hands a second time, because I think she was just not done yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so anyways, I was super judgy.
She did an initial. While we're on the topic of washing hands, listen, we got to have a conversation about the refilling of the empty soap bottles. We can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
We are in the middle of a pandemic. We
It's
can't be using any watered down soap anymore.
It is a hardcore Asian thing. Like,
Melissa said that it's a Hispanic thing too.
yeah, well, that just goes to show how similar those demographics are because we're afraid of waste. Dude, like Alexis is over here. Like, okay, so I brought home a bunch of used utensils from the office because I bring them home, I wash them, and I bring them back to the office. And Alexis, like, hardcore was so surprised that I was reusing the plastic utensils. And I've never had someone call me out for that before.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
I've never seen reusing the plastic utensils. I've seen, like, buying biodegradable or, like, bamboo utensils, and I've seen, like, bringing your own metal utensils from home.
Yeah.
But I've never seen someone come in with, like, a plastic grocery bag full
of used, like clean,
full of used utensils.
All the times we go out to eat, I save it. So, like, every, like, few weeks at my house, I have, like, a shit ton of them, so I have to bring it back in. Hey, I'm saving the world.
No,
one utensil at a time.
Listen, I appreciate it. It just took me off guard. I didn't know that was happening. I had wondered, like, where all these forks had suddenly come from. And it turns out that, Jen, do you hand wash them? Do you put them through the dishwasher? What do you do?
I put them through the dishwasher.
Okay. I feel better about it then. I was thinking melt in the dishwasher.
I am not going to sit there and wash every single utensil. So I just throw them in the dishwasher.
That's what I thought you were doing.
God,
I thought you were sitting there like, save the 6 cents.
Save this turtle's butthole.
Was he getting poked in the butt with a fork time?
You never know. Got a straw up his nose, fucking fork in his butt. Anyways, okay, so going back to why your vaginas smell. Your period, everyone's period smells different. Sometimes, you know, our vaginas be giving really pungent odors when we're on our period.
Sometimes
when you have... Yeah, like when you have STIs, when you're working out, wearing the wrong freaking underwear. And that's why it's so important, the type of underwear you use. So for what's recommended is wearing cotton underwear because the fabric is breathable. So that it lets your vaginas breathe. And also, ladies, if you haven't tried this already, like, ditch the underwear at night. Your vagina will thank you because it'll be able to breathe.
It was like the greatest change that I ever made was just like saying F you to underwear at night. So like, and I know that cotton underwear is the best. Like, I personally wear cotton underwear because I don't care about my underwear being cute anymore. Like, I'm just thinking back to being like 16 and like having all lace underwear.
Oh my gosh, remember? Like, I used to wear thongs all the time, like when I was in high school, because Victoria's Secret days, and like now I cannot get myself to wear one.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not putting a string in my butt. I'm not doing that. But like, so seamless underwear. So the problem with cotton underwear, they usually have bulkier seams, right?
Yeah.
So they're not as like discreet when you're wearing something tight. But like seamless underwear is always that like nylon material, and I hate that stuff. Nothing makes my sorry, getting TMI here, but like nothing makes my vaginal area sweat like that nylon material.
Yeah. Let me share with you the brand that I'm using. I'm wearing it right now. I got it at Nordstrom. So, ladies, if you are able to afford some expensive underwear, and let me tell you expensive, like I think it was like $28. I honestly don't remember. I'll like share it.
Per pair?
Okay, so it's first of all, let me tell you. First of all, it is so seamless. The material is so comfortable. I don't want to say it's nylon because it doesn't feel like nylon, but I just get myself like 3 or 4 really good pairs, and then of course, like, you know, I'll like wash it weekly. But using that kind of underwear has changed my life because I can wear it with literally any pants. It's not bulky, and I've just noticed it feels good. When your underwear feels good, you feel good.
Yeah, I just buy like the 10 for $30 at Aerie and like call it good.
Yeah, I haven't,
because I don't care that much. I don't care that much about underwear lines. I just know that other people do. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about how your vagina is like this miracle self-cleaning.
Yes.
Like self-cleaning magical gift.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Cave of
So
Wonders.
the Cave of Wonders. So your vagina is self-cleaning, which means that you don't have to do any of this like douching stuff. You don't have to use like pH balancing like body wash. That's only when you have some sort of infection that maybe your doctor will recommend it to you. Your vagina is also, because it's self-cleaning, it's totally natural that you're going to have discharge. That discharge is there to remove any germs, any bacteria out of your body. And so there's different types of discharge. Now, healthy discharge, which is like regular discharge, right? It's mostly going to be white. There might be a little bit of yellow in it. Don't freak out. But now if your discharge is like gray, fucking neon green, that's possible. Yellow or like has like a really funky, like rotten smell to it, it's best you ask your doctor, have that shit get checked out, because you could be at risk for an infection, an STI, something that's going on down there. Now, if you're experiencing any itchiness, any pain, again, you might have an infection or something more serious, so go see your doctor. A lot of women have like itchy,
Just throwing in my 2 cents there. So on
Yeah.
the discharge, the amount of discharge also totally varies, like at different points in the month. And it's like periods. Some women have really light periods all the time. Some women have heavy periods. If your discharge is heavy, just wear a panty liner.
So
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, so now that I'm, hardcore for mailing, I actually have to wear a panty liner every day. Like, it's just a habit of mine.
I prefer it. I just end up being like out of stock. What am I doing? Out of them pretty frequently because I don't buy.
I
like,
run
big
through
packs.
them every month.
Yeah. So I prefer it just like because like throughout the day you're sweating, you're hanging in there. Like if you wear tight pants, like it can get a little bit sweaty in there.
Yeah.
So it's just nice to be able to like reset. You know?
So if you're using panty liners every day, like you're not alone. It's totally normal. That's why they exist. I wish they were free, but that's another topic.
Bank tax, yeah.
So also like check up in that shit if there's retained tampons, because also if you're experiencing itchy or pain or like funkiness, it could be likely that you forgot a tampon up in there. And this is the only few times where, according to my research, a douche would be helpful. There are some brands out there like Refresh, which is like an over-counter solution that helps keep your pH levels healthy. So my final thoughts on like your vagina smelling is just don't mess with it. Don't mess with it. It'll take care of itself unless you see something like hella or smell something hella unusual, like go see a doctor. Now, we talked about smell. Let's talk about how to prevent or get rid of odor. So a lot of these, like I've learned over the years, unfortunately, through my own experiences, and I wish I knew this sooner. So one way you can prevent and get rid of odors, again, check on your tampon, keep an eye on it. Use condoms. Maybe you're sensitive to like semen, so it can throw off your pH balance often. Have a healthier lifestyle. Just start by drinking more water.
Water is always the answer.
Water is the only
and I'm
answer.
so bad. I am so bad at drinking water.
I fucking
drink like 4 cups of coffee a day and no water.
We went and got a big ass water bottle for her, and she left it here for like 3 months. I told her to take it home. She took it home, and I haven't seen it.
There was soap in it.
And it sat there for 4 months.
It's so big. I'm gonna pee all the time. Do you want to pay me? Like, do you want me to pee that often on company time?
You can only pee 2 times a day.
That's
you have to clock in, clock out
already. Use your 10-minute break.
Okay, and then also really, really important, this tip has helped me so much in preventing infections, and that's change out of your work clothes as soon as you finish working out. Because your vagina's sitting all that sweatiness, it's gonna be more prone to infection. So as soon as you're finished working out, try and shower or try to change out of there. Also, try investing in new underwear. That will help a lot too. So I'm just gonna wrap this part up with how your vagina should look and feel. Okay. So again, every vagina looks different. So what doctors recommend, and I wish this was more commonly known too, is like get in touch with yourself. And like literally get in touch with yourself. Like take a mirror, go down there, explore. So you can use a handheld mirror use like a small light, maybe not your phone so you don't accidentally live stream it.
You know that somebody's done that too.
Yeah, there's diagrams that are available, so to point out like where certain things are, and then you can use a pillow and towel, get some comfortable, where, like, I'm putting on some gloves on my hand, like, when the doctors, like, okay, anyways, you guys can't see it. Make sure your hands are clean, and like, relax and go in there and explore where your vulva, the clitoris, the outer and inner labia. Take note of the color. See, get an idea of what it looks like, and also keep an eye out for anything like genital warts, sores, bumps, spots, any unusual coloration. That way you can make an appointment to see your doctor. So yeah, like, your vagina is like literally like you. Be friends with it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if you know what's happening down there, like, that was something that I figured out, is like, when you know what you're working with, your sex life gets like infinitely better. Yeah. Because you're able to actually communicate with your partner about like your body.
Yeah.
So it has multiple benefits. Yeah. All right, is it my turn?
Yes, I want to hear.
Oh my God. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about the horribly frustrating topic of, like, why the fuck we don't know anything about our vaginas.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like so guilty of this too.
This is something that I've heard consistently from multiple women and vagina owning people in my life, is like, they didn't get the education that they felt like they needed, and I know a lot of people feel like they're kind of on their own.
Yeah.
And that causes issues down the road, which I'll cover, but like, this is an issue that goes way beyond us. Yeah. So throughout history, vaginas have just been like a taboo subject. My theory, and I have
it's because
zero
men
evidence.
Can't handle that shit.
You right. Well, so my theory, and it's across multiple cultures, but it's particularly like European cultures and Western cultures that are very like afraid of vaginas. So if you're talking about like the Jewish and early Christian theologies, you have the story of Adam and Eve as the first man and woman. Eve was like considered the temptress, right? So she was the one who like was duped by the serpent, and she was the one who convinced good old Adam to take a bite of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. I think that's what it's called. So like, women get a bad rap as like the temptress, and they use their feminine wiles to lure men into sin. So
pussy power.
We have pussy power, yeah. So we have that image of like women, a lot, because people didn't know anything about female bodies. There is also a lot of folklore about like women just being inherently evil.
That's so interesting.
So those are just a couple of the reasons why vaginas have remained a taboo subject. But there was literally no medical concept of how female reproduction worked until the 1680s.
Yeah.
Like, all of human history, 1680s, like less than 400 years ago.
Yeah.
So the word vagina is a Latin word, and it means like a sheath. So a sheath? For a sword, a sheath.
Okay.
So calling female genitals a vagina is just like calling it like a dick holder.
Wow. That's really offensive.
Right?
Oh my God.
So like, and most of modern history, physicians have been men. So they don't know what's happening. The ancient Greek they had some wild ass ideas about anatomy, but one physician, Aretaeus, thought that the uterus just kind of wandered around the female body, and that's why you'd have like periods and why women were like emotional was
So
because
it's
their
like-
uterus just kind of like was hanging out in there like floating.
So our uterus is like playing Candyland inside our bodies.
Yeah, so you could lure it back into place with good smells.
Interesting.
You could lure the uterus back into place.
Okay.
So, like, the general concept for most of history, male physicians
Okay.
operated under the assumption that women either had just really, really tiny penises or had penises that were, like, punched up in the other direction.
Wow.
So, just like penis or nothing. There's no way it can be a different set of organs. It's just an inverted penis.
Well, like,
Duh.
Isn't our like clit like a penis that hasn't formed like way back when we were like in the womb?
Or a penis is just an oversized clitoris.
You right. I like
All
that
embryos,
option better.
all embryos start out as female.
Mm-hmm.
Female is like the default for embryos, unless
Makes
they're in the
sense.
presence of a particular hormone which generates the activation of the Y chromosome. So
they just I love it.
yep. So, like, to be fair to these
Okay.
old-ass male physicians, the Catholic Church wouldn't allow... The Catholic Church and actually many other, like, high organizations, the people in charge, wouldn't allow dissection of corpses until the 1500s.
Interesting.
So, like, the vagina is, or the female reproductive system is almost entirely internal. So, like, how the fuck would they know that it wasn't
Yeah.
just an inverted penis? Because they couldn't see inside because they weren't
Yeah.
allowed to dissect. So, like, anatomy in and of itself was just, like, a guessing game until the 1500s.
Yeah, because like a penis is all there. You get to see
Right,
everything.
you can see it. It's quite responsive to external stimuli. But, like, even once they could draw anatomical diagrams of dissections, the genital diagrams were considered scandalous. So either, like, the diagrams themselves would be, like, covered or entirely omitted out of anatomy textbooks. So, like, physicians weren't allowed to see what genitals should look like.
Interesting.
Right. Again.
So of course no one. Wow.
So of course nobody knew, right?
Uh-huh.
So then let's, like, fast forward a little bit to the invention of gynecology. Do you want to take a stab at when, like, how recently that was?
Oh my gosh, I want to say like 1970s.
Oh, it's further back than that, but
Okay, early 1900s.
Okay, still further back.
Okay, mid 1800s.
Yeah.
Yay!
Third time's a charm.
It just took me 4 times.
So, like, the invention of gynecology is, like, a very mixed bag subject because obviously it has entirely changed women's health and created an understanding of, well, the beginnings of an understanding of the female reproductive system.
Yeah.
So James Marion Sims was considered the father of gynecology. He invented the vaginal speculum, which, if you guys haven't had your first pap smear yet, God be with you.
It's
Basically,
so cold.
it's like a metal duck bill that they insert into your vaginal opening and, like, crank it open. And that was my least favorite part
Like the
of my
part where
first
they
pap
crank
smear. The crank where you can just feel the cog turning and, like, stretching.
I'm like
Ooh,
cringing
it's
just having you talk
awful.
about this.
it's
And then
awful.
they stick up the long ass
The
Q-tip
little
up in there.
Q-tip. So the vaginal speculum, it stretches open the, like, opening to the vagina so a physician can actually see through the vagina to the cervix. It allowed Mr. Sims, Dr. Sims, to actually, like, see a woman's cervix for the first time. He was the first person to perform surgery to repair vesicovaginal fistulas, which were a life-threatening complication of some pregnancies. So did really good things for women's health overall. The issue is, he experimented on enslaved African American women.
Oh, I see.
So they were the guinea pigs for this new field of medicine.
Yeah.
There were 3 women in particular that he favored experimenting on. There was one named Anarcha. Starting at age 17, she had 30 operations performed on her without anesthesia.
Oh my God, that is so frightening.
Absolutely. And they, like,
And, like, you know what? No one even probably knows her name.
Her name's Anarcha.
I know, but, like, you know, you don't hear about this in the history books.
So recently there was a statue of James Marion Sims. Ooh, was it in New York? I don't know. There was a statue of him somewhere on the East Coast. They took the statue down and replaced it with a plaque honoring the 3 women who received the brunt of his abuse and for their sacrifices towards women's health.
Yeah.
So again, like, super mixed bag, and that's history. It's like, yay, one good thing, but it came at the expense of, like, so many other things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, that's why we don't talk about vaginas, because, like, we didn't know what the fuck they were until, like, the last 400 years. The other thing that I want to touch on is that there are, like, so many names for women's genitals, but it's more complicated than just calling it, like, a vagina or a coochie or a V or a sausage wallet. Like,
sausage wallet.
So the female reproductive system is actually a series of organs and structures. You touched on this earlier, but we have the uterus, which is where a fetus develops into a baby. There's actually 2 parts to the uterus. There's the cervix and the corpus. Baby lives in the corpus and then passes through the cervix during birth. The cervix is also where menstrual fluid is ejected. The ovaries, probably you have 2 of them, not everybody.
Interesting.
But they produce eggs and hormones. They're connected to the uterus by the fallopian tubes. That's where egg and sperm come together.
Yeah.
So when semen is in your vaginal canal, it goes and goes up through the cervix into the uterus, and then it, like, out into the fallopian tubes. They kind of hang out there, and then they, like, once they're combined back into the uterus. The vagina is actually the canal joining the cervix and the outside world.
Okay, so that's where you put your tampons, your menstrual cups.
And your dicks, yes.
Yes. Or your toys.
So then you, whatever you put up there.
That's the vagina.
But not anything. Don't put anything up there. I always hear, like, the ER nightmare stories of people who put, like, a potato up there and it's
Do you remember the show 1000 Ways to Die?
Yes.
Okay, so there was this one episode where this chick put, like, a cucumber or whatever in her vagina, and then she ended up in the ER and died because, like, the cucumber, like, accidentally scratched and gave her, like, a really bad infection.
If it's not meant to go in your vagina, don't put it in your vagina.
Yeah.
I think that's a good rule of thumb. Don't put it in your vagina if it's not designed for that purpose.
Absolutely.
So then, usually when we're talking about, like, my vagina, we're actually talking about the vulva, which is the outer genitalia. So that includes the labia majora, the labia minora, the Bartholin's glands, and the clitoris.
Yeah, so like, imagine having sex and telling them where to go based on those scientific names.
Touch my labia. But general fear and like lack of information available about female genitals means there's a lot of unrealistic expectations about what they should look, feel, and smell like. So, and this is a little bit of like personal opinion. There's some data backing it up, but I'm going to share my experience. A lot of women's self-consciousness about their genitals comes from like men. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you didn't have a guy up in there, or a person, a human up in there, like would you really care?
Yeah, no, Like, what is it?
So many young men begin watching porn before they have their first sexual encounter. So according to the American Psychological Association, the average age of first exposure to pornography for men is 13. Yeah. But it goes like as young as like 8 and as old as 26. So 13 is just kind of the average. But, you know, when that's your first experience with sex and with like female genitals, you have these visuals of enhanced female genitals. So it creates this expectation that's been entirely created by the porn industry.
Bleached buttholes.
Like bleached buttholes. So one of the examples is something called a labiaplasty. Are you familiar with it?
I remember us talking about this before.
So a labiaplasty is a surgery that involves trimming the labia majora or minora. So instead of getting like a lip, it would be trimmed down so it's smooth.
Interesting.
So there is a procedure called the Barbie that actually amputates the entire labia minora. So it looks like a smooth, like, plastic doll.
What the heck?
Yes. So that's, like, fairly common for porn stars to do because it looks better on camera. Yeah. So, you know,
Is it because you can see it better?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't watch porn enough, you guys, so I don't know.
So it's estimated that only about 50% of women watch porn, and fewer than that, only about 20% will actually confess to it.
Let me tell you guys why I don't watch porn. First of all, I like things to be intimate, and porn, sometimes they just, like, get right into it. And also, where's the fucking background music? I need some, I don't want to just hear stuff. Also, it's so cheesy. So apparently there's a section on like porn sites like specifically for women, and it's not any better. So come on, you guys can do better. Come on.
So I mean, porn itself is an industry that is geared towards men. So I mean, in the research that I was doing about like women who do or do not watch porn, like a lot of the thing is like, well, it just doesn't appeal to me. So the industry just isn't making pornography like for women. Yeah. And women are expected to have lower, like there's a societal expectation that women have lower sex drives than men. So
well, it's because y'all stressing us out. It's affecting our sex drive.
I love it. So all that to say, like when a young man like his only experience with vaginas is through porn, which is all visual. So he has this visual of a like enhanced vagina, and he doesn't have any of the experience of like smell, taste, feel. Like he's just got the visual. Yeah. Then it would be disconcerting to like come in contact with like a real live vagina, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and sometimes they can have negative responses. Sorry, honey, I'm gonna throw you under the bus here. I'm gonna get TMI and share something that like it caused a lot of friction in mine and Greg's relationship. He had never like had any sort of sexual encounter before we were together. And so, you know, one of the first times that we were engaging in sexual contact, he like sorry, is this too TMI?
No, like this is like we're sharing
it's
important
just, like,
stuff. Like I'm sure other people have gone through this too.
It's embarrassing for me, and I think for him too. But it just, you know, is what it is. Since he had never had that experience before, he didn't know like what he was in for when he like went down on me. Yeah. And I remember he like started and then stopped, looked at me and said, "I don't like it." No, it's not funny.
That's not funny at all. It like,
wasn't funny.
Imagine like in that, I would be terrified and so like, upset.
You're in this literally like vulnerable position.
Yeah.
And Like, first off, if I can put a dick in my mouth, then, like, you can suck it up. But that, like,
Literally.
that has, like, carried that fear of, like, being somehow gross.
Yeah.
Has carried through for, like, years of our relationship.
Yeah.
And
so, like,
it's
how did you, like, have that conversation with him? And, like, how did he get himself more educated?
So that, like, as soon as it happened, like, first off, shut whatever was happening down real quick.
Yeah.
And, like, I talked to him the next day about it and told him, like, how much it had hurt me, and tried to explain that, like, vaginas don't taste like a cupcake. Like, that's just unrealistic. So he understood that what he had said had hurt me. And basically said, like, I'll get used to it.
Yeah.
So
Good for him.
I appreciated that. But I understand that it was disconcerting for him and, like, kind of a shock. I get it. But again, if I can put a dick in my mouth, you can suck it up.
Like, literally. Yeah, women go through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And we just take it, you know?
Right. So, like, as a woman, if you've had an experience like that, and, like, we don't talk about it, it's like, I think you're only, like, the third person that I've told about that ever. And now I'm doing it, like, on a podcast so other people can listen.
But I think a lot of people might have gone through that, whether they were the person having that experience or giving that experience.
Right. But, like, it sticks with you, and then every sexual encounter that you go into after that, like, you question in your mind, do I smell okay? Do I taste okay? Should I have shaved? Like, it just causes so much anxiety.
Yeah.
And that can mess with not just your sex drive, but your self-esteem. You may avoid sexual encounters, or you may, like, do things that actively, like, harm your vagina in the effort, like, to try and, like, improve. So, like you were saying, like, douching, feminine washes, scented wipes, scented feminine products, those all increase your risk for developing either a UTI or a bacterial infection.
They're just masking something that isn't supposed to smell pretty in the first place.
Right. Like, why should my cooch smell like a field of wildflowers?
Yeah.
You'd rather, okay. But just, like, don't. If you're with somebody who insists that your genitals smell like a fresh baked cookie, don't be with that person. That person is wrong. Does that person's dick smell like a fresh baked cookie? I guarantee not.
I love that.
Like I said, there are risks involved with using products in and around your vagina. So the first one is bacterial infection. The second is UTI. There was a Canadian study from the University of Guelph in Ontario found that gel sanitizers were associated with an 8 times higher risk of yeast infection and a 20 times higher risk of bacterial infection.
Oh my gosh.
Intimate washes and vaginal cleansers were linked to 3.5 times higher risk of bacterial infection and 2.5 times risk of UTI. So, like, it is not worth it.
Yeah.
Let your cooch do its thing. Wash it gently, only on the outside. The inside never needs to be washed.
Yeah, your vagina, it's a magical thing. It self-cleans by itself. There's no need for you to do anything extra except checking on it occasionally. Check for bumps, lumps, discharges, and check in with your doctor. Like, I think, like, as part of femaling, like, it's really important that you're in tune with what your body's doing. And frequently do checkups. We've, like, for instance, getting pap smears when you're scheduled to is really important. It's not getting your boobs checked up.
Right.
What was that thing called?
And a mammogram?
A mammogram.
And even if you don't, I know a lot of people avoid going to the doctor if they don't have health insurance for preventative care. Planned Parenthood, WIC, there are women's clinics in just about every major city and metropolitan area in the United States that will do preventative care for you either free or at a very low cost.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse to not get your pap smear.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's tons of resources online too if you guys want to learn more about how to take advantage of those like resources. Yeah, and just like, dude, stay hygienic.
And stay hydrated.
Hydrated.
Really, at the end of the day,
well, your body's
happy
made up
vagina-
of like 70% of water. So,
I think mine's like 62%.
well,
8% coffee.
yeah. Yeah. And
It's probably more like 5% coffee, 3% alcohol.
not enough water.
Nope.
Well, anyways, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Dear Beauty Podcast. You can find us on Instagram. You can DM us or email us at Dear Beauty Podcast. We want to hear about your vagina stories. We'll share it in the next episode.
Always want to hear about your vagina stories.
Yeah, and also we've been really good at uploading, so subscribe and listen to us every Friday.
Every Friday. Okay.
Bye.